has just asked, hey, Matt, I hear some betting outlets have given refunds on rain, meaning that the test was drawn. Was your betting outlet one
I'll
of those?
have to check with WSD because it went on his exchange account. You reckon WSD might have pocketed it?
Well, maybe.
How much do you owe him?
Well, I don't owe him anything, actually.
Looking forward to the big V, boys.
Thanks, mate.
RSN Racing. It's the home of Victorian racing.
Stand by for the start.
Whether it's thoroughbred, greyhound or harness racing, RSN Racing supports an industry full of heartwarming stories.
Animo holding on, Animo. This time for the big A. Cat Glory for wins.
King of Swing fighting though, he's a superstar, a champion pacer.
For the next 90 minutes, RSN brings you the latest news, tips, and unique racing tales.
Gates are backing away.
This is Big V Racing.
We'll do our best to entertain you over the next 90 minutes or so. Matt Nevitt and Matt Stewart with you for the Big V on this Wednesday. I love Wednesdays, Matty Stewart. As I say, good morning to you. I really enjoy Wednesdays. We've got good racing out there at Sandown. We can get stuck into a few bets. Brendan Delaney joins us. He's a very intelligent man, and there's always a little bit happening, I feel, on Hump Day.
Yeah, I'm a Hump Day man. And Brendan Delaney, yeah, he slid nicely into a yay or nay type multitasking, hasn't he?
I think he's enjoying it too. I think he's, at first maybe it might have been a bit of a chore for him, but I feel like he's actually enjoying the responsibility and the role now.
I tell you what I think he's enjoying too is the Sunday show, Mikey, with Mikey and Mickey Comerford. There they are dominating. There's a good vibe about that show, I've got to say.
Good Sports, is that the show you're referring
Good
to?
Sports,
Yes.
I just wanted Mikey to chip in there, and he's just nodding. Good for radio.
Yeah, great for radio. Good time, 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. every Sunday morning. Little plug. Me, myself, Mick Comerford.
You yourself?
Yeah.
I like that.
Bit nervous talking to Matthew Stewart. It's back.
So
And Brendan Delaney. No, it's a good time. Talking all things sport.
He's a good man, BD. Yeah, very intelligent, knows his stuff.
Knows his stuff. Not afraid to call it. And Hillside's a ripper too, isn't it? I love it when we go to Hillside. I wonder what Higo thinks. I'm just going through the tracks that he rides the most winners at, and he really does have a great record everywhere. And he's only won one at Hillside. I don't know what the last 12 months and a few more at Lakeside, but I wonder how he would describe the difference, if he perceives there to be any, between Hillside and Lakeside. He's certainly been around the block for a while now, and he's what's known as a great servant to the industry.
He certainly is. Let's catch up with him. Yeah, Brian Higgins is our guest on the road today. He's got a couple of really nice rides there at Sandown on the Hillside track, Twin Perfection, and also She's Pretty Rich go around early on in the day. And Brian joins us. G'day, Brian.
G'day, guys. How are we?
Very well, thank you. You've got some nice rides there at Sandown today. You'll be looking forward to getting out there with the sun shining at Sandown.
Yeah, that's it. I've actually just pulled in the car park and the sun's out. There's no wind, so it should be a good day.
The late, great Peter Mertens was called the King of Gippsland, and I know Bluey Troner had always had a great record down there at places like Stony Creek. It's your hunting ground as well, isn't it, pretty much, Higo?
Yeah, it is. I was fortunate enough that I was around riding against Pete and the likes of Pete and Mark Flaherty and all those boys down from Gippsland. So I learned a few tricks of the trade down there, and it's been a good hunting ground for me over the years.
And Sandown kind of is the closest city track to it, and then we've got Pakenham and Cranbourne as well. It's hard for jockeys to be all over the state, isn't it? I mean, the Johnny Allens tend to be, and the Dean Yendels tend to dominate the west and the northwest, and the east and the southeast is left for you guys, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I think this day and age, we do a lot of jump outs, and I structured a lot of my jump outs, my track work around this side of town, and those boys would structure their mornings from that side of town. So, I find most of the horses these days sort of stick to their sides. They don't really go either. And, I try and concentrate on this side more so.
You were always a very constant figure down at Cranbourne, but Pakenham's come on the scene now, and if you look at the trainers that you ride for, you got the last 12 months, the most rides, Matty Brown, Cranbourne, Peter Moody, Pakenham, Bedgie, Cranbourne, Stokesy, Pakenham, Mathrick, Cranbourne, etc. it suggests that you're dividing your time a lot more now in the mornings between Pakenham and Cranbourne?
Yeah, that's correct. I think, I used to just predominantly be around Cranbourne mostly, and then the opening came when Moody came back to training that he was going out to Pakenham, and I started venturing back out there to him, and one thing led to another. It opened a few doors for other trainers down there, them sending me around riding work for Moody, and I popped my head into Stokes' place as well every week, and so I sort of spread the workload between the two places, and I think I've got it down to a knack now, and it's still working quite well.
And they're two trainers, Philip Stokes and Matty Brown, that you've got your rides for today, and they're both horses that you've had an association with in the past. So does it feel like you're getting some momentum at the moment, Brian?
Yeah, it does. I think the key to this year is I haven't had a break this winter. I've worked all the way through, and I've been, touch wood, I've been very fortunate with suspensions. I shouldn't have said that. I'll probably get time today now, but I've structured it this year that I've tried to keep in those stables throughout the winter and not try and come back with the big boys. So I've sort of, like the instance of Twin Perfection today, it's a ride that I probably wouldn't have got, but I've gotten because I've been around all winter. So it's just the way it's worked this year, and it's worked out well.
Tricky question, but more to promote what Pakenham has to offer, but pound for pound comparing the two training centres, like they're literally, as the crow flies, I don't know, 30 k's apart or something. They're very, very close, and Cranbourne's got the history and the numbers and the hill track and the multi-grass tracks, but Pakenham has got the wide open spaces and a lot of room for more. I know they're building a new track up the top there as well. How do you compare as a track rider when you're riding track and jump outs and so on, the experience of Cranbourne and Pakenham?
They're both very different. Cranbourne's it's more intense these days. There's a lot of horses there. It's a lot quicker to work your horses. You're probably not on them as long. I can get 4 done in an hour at Cranbourne, where I'd struggle to get 2 done in an hour at Pakenham, So Pakenham, you spend a lot more time on the horses, and I feel like they're a bit more relaxed out of Pakenham. It's a lot quieter. Even out on the track, you don't very rarely have to go around horses or things like that, whereas Cranbourne, it's, you're dodging traffic a fair bit, but they're both very good facilities. They've served me quite well over the years. So, look, they're both very different, and I think it suits different trainers. Some people like the hustle and bustle, and they like the stimulation in their horses, and other people like it nice and quiet for their horses. So I think it works both ways, and Pakenham's is catching up with the times. It's got good facilities out there, and you can see it growing year by year, and Cranbourne's got great facilities, but they've jam-packed a lot into the place, and there's probably not a hell of a lot of more room for improvement. So, it'll level out over the years.
I've got to say, it surprised me from the moment the Caulfield trainers got their eviction notice a few years ago that it wasn't a more even spread between Pakenham and Cranbourne. They're not far away, so geographically there's not a huge difference, although Cranbourne is closer. And as you just touched on then, I think in years to come we'll see it even out. But I've always been a bit surprised at the disproportionate number of horses between Cranbourne and Pakenham.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised too that probably Pakenham didn't attract more of those Caulfield trainers, and there's a bit of a hurry on to they're all trying to get into Cranbourne, and I think now things are starting to level out a bit. You see, people starting to look at it towards Pakenham to move on to, and I'm not quite sure. I think they still thought it was a bit new and a bit raw out of Pakenham, but there's still plenty of winners coming out of there. Moody and Stokes, they dominate, but there's a lot of little trainers there that get a lot of winners too, and I think they've got the wide open space to keep on expanding and put new facilities in, like the uphill track and things like that. So I think it could only get better. But I was very surprised too. I did think a lot more Caulfield trainers would have went out to Pakenham than what there was.
Hey, Brian, I know you've pulled up at the races and you're involved pretty early on in the card, so we'll get to your runners today. We don't want to push our luck with the stewards. They made special allowances for us yesterday, so
we've got jockeys in the stewards room talking to us now after Amy Herman yesterday. So, mate, we're breaking the rules,
pulling strings.
I've still got a bit of time.
Yeah, all right. We'll get to your runners. Twin Perfection there in race 2. As I mentioned earlier, you rode this horse last start where it won on the synthetic. On the grass today, what are you thinking about its chances?
Yeah, it gets a chance to win again, I think. 1,000 metres, low pressure track, not a lot of pressure in the race. It's a little bit sticky, but small field. And it's got a great racing style. It could put itself somewhere there, and it's nice and fit. And it's trained on well from its last run, and I couldn't see why it couldn't go there today and be hard to beat again.
And the other runner that you got the ride on today, She's Pretty Rich. Mark Hunter was keen on this horse on the form preview earlier today, and it ran really well behind Our Red Morning, who looks a really smart filly there for Greg Urell at Caulfield last start. From Barrier 1 today, are you confident?
Yeah, obviously her form's on the board. She's probably been running a lot better races than this today, but she's deep into a campaign. That's one thing I think today it will be her last run for the prep. Barrier 1's probably a little bit of a negative, if there was a negative in the race, but as she hasn't trained off at home, so that's a good sign. And as I said, it's the easiest race she's seen, and she's been acquitting herself quite well in Saturday company. So fingers crossed she can knock it off. She deserves it. Her form's been ultra consistent this time round, so I'd like to see her go out a winner if she could.
Well, do you notice, is there a distinct difference for you between Hillside and Lakeside, and can it change? I mean, Lakeside was always kind of renowned as a bit more on pacerish, but then Hillside can play that way as well. At the moment, or in recent times, has there been a difference between the two Sandowns?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of races are tempo related, and sometimes it can also be the surface. Middle of winter, slowly run races, horses on speed, they sort of can stick on a little bit better, so it makes it quite hard from the back to try and pick those horses up when they're going slow on wet ground. But no, I think a lot of races this day and age, when there's when there's biases in tracks, there's a lot of it's to do with wind and tempo relations. So I think as long as the races run genuinely, they get their chance no matter where they are.
Well, Brian, appreciate your time this morning on Big V Racing. Two really good chances, strong chances there at Sandown, the Savo, so we'll be following them, and good luck. Hopefully there's a couple of winners there for you.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time.
There's Brian Higgins joining us there, Matty. So he gets around on for different trainers, does the work, doesn't get huge amount of rides and full books, but he's got a great opportunity today to go bang bang at Sandown on a Wednesday.
Yeah, he's one of those jockeys who's very useful across the board. He's always there at track work. He's fast gallops, jump outs. I know so many of the Cranbourne trainers originally who had him as such a valuable stable asset, and so did now Moods and Stokes and so on. It is interesting, the divide, isn't it, the split down the state between, you think of Yendall, Bates, Declan Bates and Johnny Allen and all those guys out. They're almost exclusively out west, aren't they? And then you get the southeast, the legends like Peter Mertens and then the Brian Higginses, and Bluey Tronerud was one that jumps out to my mind back in the day, and those ones that ride down that way. And then there's a few that sort of meet halfway at places like Wangaratta in the north. And Brad Verwilla, who tends to go just about anywhere. So there is a different crew in the east and the west. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Matty, before we go to our first break, I've got to read this SMS out to you. It's from John in Highton. He's one of your good friends, Matty. Hey, boys, the Nakoni filly is getting some positive feedback out at Freshwater Creek. If you're astute enough to pick in secret, not Buenos Noches, who finished an honest fifth, you could have the cheapest next Newmarket winner for a steal. I worked it out that for $50 per week with no buy-in, it would have cost you $1,000 by now, $5,000 by the time it wins next year's Newmarket. That's from John in Highton.
This all traces back to a side bet we had with John from Highton months ago, but I can't remember what it was about. Oh, was it about In Secret versus Buenos Noches?
Something like that, yeah.
And now it's obviously these shares in the Caroni filly haven't exactly been gobbled up quickly, so he's still hawking these shares, obviously. So
He also says, I told Claire from Highton that she will need to buy her own Prosecco, as I heard Matty Stewart offer the one in the RSN fridge to someone else the other day.
No, I did. There wasn't one in the fridge. We don't even have a fridge anymore. We've been decluttered. We're losing all
There's
our
milk. That's about
because
it.
we're moving over to the RV headquarters.
If they have it.
And Amy McDonald, you just pricked my memory. I promised Amy McDonald a bottle of Prosecco over the May Carnival, and I still haven't given it to her. Amy, if you're listening, I haven't forgotten. She sent me a photo with her holding a photo of the text message.
Oh, she's
No,
holding
that
you
was
to
a
it.
while
Oh,
ago,
okay.
and she was only joking, but I feel terrible about that. So Andrew Bensley tends to be the one who delivers our wine. There was a guy in Melton that he was delivering to. I think he's a bit scared to approach the bloke's door for some reason, but I might see if...
So are you saying we'll send Andrew out personally to deliver
To Amy
these?
McDonald's,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Sounds good. A couple of SMSs before we go to the break. Twilight Cox Plate could work. Also leaves time for an after party. So that's a topic we might discuss a little bit more on Yay or Nay later on. Would it
I
work?
reckon that's a good one to talk about because there's a few reasons why these ideas might make a bit more sense now than they used to.
Absolutely. 12 to 12, we'll take a break on Big V Racing. Gary Fennessy is going to join us after 55 years of service at Lindsay Park. Pat Kearney's going to join us as well. He's got a runner at Sandown today. Ashy Boy goes around. And Brendan Delaney's going to join us as well to talk through some of the big issues in sport and racing on Yay or Nay.
Big V Racing, brought to you by Same Race Multi on the Tab app. Combine multiple runners for bigger odds.
What are you really gambling with?
Raging good looks, star-studded pedigree, bullish performance. Former star juvenile Raging Bull returns to Lower Long Farms in 2023. This imposing sire is already enjoying stud success from limited opportunities. Wild West, the Western Australian Pacing Cup champion, is among his significant winners. Breed your mare to Raging Bull this season, and the foal conceived will be eligible to race for the Lower Long Farms Big Bred 2-year-old bonus worth $100,000. Get in early to this exciting young sire. Book your mare to Raging Bull at Lower Long Farms, where quality is our priority. See the Stallions news and more at nrequine.com.au.
Saturday, RSN is there when racing returns to Moonee Valley.
Terrific day of racing about to get underway.
For the first time since April on the rejuvenated racing surface. Track manager Marty Simon.
The tracks aren't really good. The renovation was done back in April and that entailed 30 draining the track, spraying out the power, then we scarified the track and then we oversowed it.
Join the RSN racing and sport team for the expert insight into how the valley plays.
Ready? Gates are back and racing.
RSN Racing and Sport, back to the Valley, Saturday.
It's Cyber Safety Awareness Month at Harvey Norman, and we're giving you a free $50 cyber safety voucher to use towards any cyber security product. That's right, a free $50 voucher to use towards any cyber security product. Get a 1-year, 1-device subscription to Norton 360 Premium or Trend Micro Device Security Pro for $0 when you use your $50 voucher from Harvey Norman. To claim your voucher, visit us in store. Hurry, offer ends August 17. Available now at Harvey Norman. Offer available in store only.
The new $5 million Inglis Extra Bonus Series is simple. Win one of the designated maidens and earn an extra $100,000. To qualify, all you need to do is sign up to the Inglis Race Series. Entries close July 31st at inglis.com.au.
Pick your favourite Kia. From the award-winning Kia Sportage to the street cred delivering Kia Seltos, or Kia's most powerful car ever, the all-electric EV6 GT. Book a test drive today to find your chosen one. Find out more at kia.com.au or drop into your nearest Kia dealer.
Kia, movement that inspires. Big V Racing, brought to you by Same Race Multi on the Tab app. Combine multiple runners for bigger odds.
What are you really gambling with?
Thoroughbreds, greyhounds and harness racing. It's all on Big V Racing. Big V Racing.
Yeah, I like the tunes. I like when Mikey Belisaris plays a bit of music when we come back in from an ad break.
I like when he goes Pink Floyd.
I think it hits us too hard with just the straight sting, so I'm going to encourage music from now on, Matty Stewart. Do you approve of that?
No, I love it. I think we should play a lot of music.
041690 50 52. Let us know what music you'd like us to actually play on RSN here on Big V Racing. John from Highton says, it might be the Hanging Rock Cup, but at least we'll be somewhere. And there's another SMS here. Hi, Matt. Tell Matt Stewart I found his Band-Aid in lane 1. Cheers. That's from the conversation yesterday.
No, but did you pick it up? Did you scoop it out of the pool?
What did you do with it?
Or did you just swim over the top of it?
Yeah, that is a very good question.
Gary Fennessy's been at Lindsay Park for 55 years, which means his musical taste would go right back to the big band music of the 1930s.
Expansive.
Yeah. Hey, Bim, how you going?
Yeah, good, Matt. I'm not that old.
I was telling the boys earlier, I said there's a funny little story about the nickname Bim that you've had for 55 years. It's quite a cute little story, isn't it?
Yeah, that was... What was that story? I've heard a couple.
It was a baby elephant.
Oh, yeah, there was some circus or something in town. and Dad had seen this elephant or something or other. And I was a 10-pound something baby. He said, he looks like an elephant, this kid.
And it's stuck ever since.
Yeah, it's been there ever since.
Well, there you go.
Congratulations on your 55 years, Bim. It's a remarkable achievement. To be at any organisation for that long is a wonderful effort. How do you reflect on your time at Lindsay Park?
Oh, it's been unbelievable. You know, it's pretty easy to, if you love a job, then it's pretty easy to stay, you know. Especially when you've got good horses every year and good people around you and that. So it hasn't been difficult.
A lot of sand has shifted under your feet in that time, though, because you've been there for so long. We are going to take a greyhound race in a couple of minutes, but we'll just bowl through after that, and we'll just see how we go. Gary, I've done a piece this week where I've sort of tried to pick out some of the most dramatic moments in the history of the whole Lindsay Park operation and how the strength of the operation has continued to push through. And I don't want to start with a bleak one, but I remember the most dramatic I can remember was when Adrian Dunn and I were sitting in the Herald Sun office all those years ago, and we heard about a plane accident up near Mildura, and that's when we lost Peter Hayes. And I remember thinking, gee, the momentum, what will it take to disrupt this operation? And I think that's when Tony McAvoy came in and David took over from CS, and you've been the constant force right through that. But there have been some really dramatic stories along the way and some great resilience from the operation, haven't there?
Yeah, we seem to bounce back every year, you know. It's hard to stay at the top like everyone says, but when Pete died, that was a hell of a shock to the system. He was actually going to retire in 12 months anyway, but he was thinking of retiring, and then he had the accident with the plane, and that ended it all.
Do you remember when I was in the Herald Sun office, and it was late on a Friday, I think. Do you remember where you were when you heard that news?
Yeah, I was actually at the stable, and Andrew Bensley rang me, and he wanted to know where Pete was. I said, Pete's gone back to Adelaide. He should be there. And he said, I rang Adelaide, and they said he's not there. I said, well, he was supposed to be there for a meeting or something at 4 o'clock. And then he hung up, and then he rang me back about 7 minutes later and said, look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think Pete's been in a plane crash. Because someone had rang him from Mildura or something.
Yeah, no, that's right. Hey, let's just get to this greyhound race at the Meadows, race 1, and we'll come straight back to you, Bim, because it is an important story with the history of the family. So let's go to Meadows, and we'll come straight back.
For the opening race, and we're just about set. There's the green light for the opener here at the Meadows. They're ready to go. Racing, Hocus Pocus, the odds-on favourite again. Wellens going through to lead by about a length and a half on the first corner. Our Jojo goes up to second. Good Deed railing. On the inside was uncontested, about 4 lengths to Misdirected. Then came Beautiful Liar. Well back there was What Style, and at the tail was Nail It Affair. Down the back straight, and Hocus Pocus got away by about 6 or 7 to Our Jojo. then Good Deed and Uncontested. But around the home corner, it's Hocus Pocus doing it well. And Hocus Pocus leads all the way by 4 lengths. Our Jojo second, Good Deed third, and then came Uncontested. In behind those, Misdirected, then came Nail and Affair. What Style, and at the tail was Beautiful Liar. And the time is 30:38 for Hocus Pocus.
Got ability, Hocus Pocus. The 2 defeats the 4 and the 3. 2-4-3 your numbers there at the Meadows.
Back to Gary Fennessy, the stalwart of Lindsay Park. And Gary, we were talking about the day that the world found out about the death of Peter Hayes. And you're telling us how Andrew Bensley contacted you, and then I guess that the stable and you and everyone had to try and quickly work out how to deal with it.
Yeah, what to do, it's sort of... He was a great organiser of different things. He loved the planes, and he loved motorbikes. He loved getting away, doing things like that. It was just a bit of a shock to all of us to happen so quick, to have to wake up the next morning to him not being there.
What was Tony McAvoy had been a long-standing employee. You didn't have the luxury of time to sort of to take too long to think about the salvage operation, and David was in Hong Kong. How did the ensuing days and weeks play out? Do you recall?
Well, everyone decided just to keep everything as it was. To leave Tony in Adelaide and leave me in Melbourne. There's no use. There's no use me going all the way back to Adelaide and then Tony coming to Melbourne or whatever. So we left everything as it was when Pete died. And things just rolled along, everything seemed to fall into place.
No, that's right. And the McAvoy era was a very, very successful one as well. Fields of Omar and all the other ones. And now, I just want you to fast track to another signature moment. And I wrote about the time that David and I were standing on the top of a cliff at Euroa looking over this farm that he created. And he said it was this legacy project for his kids. And I thought, what if the kids don't want to do it? There's a couple that play really good footy and all this sort of stuff. I thought, gee. But then that family bond kicked in. Did a lot of us, I got to admit, I was very sceptical when David went back to Hong Kong the second time, and then Tom left, and then the young boys took over. I thought the place could have almost collapsed because of the pressure they'd be under. What was your feeling? We all know now what an amazing job the boys have done, but what was your feeling at that time when David left the second time? Were you concerned about the momentum of the stable?
No, not really. I thought we had everything in place, and the place was still exactly the same. Like there was nothing really was going to change. And in any sort of industry or business, you can't just nothing changes if the boss goes somewhere, So everything we had it running pretty smooth, and it was only a matter of time before three of the boys stepped up and did an amazing job with all that, put me in front of a computer and I'm useless, but they seem to be able to do it pretty easy. And that's how they've kept control of everything. And the only trouble is we end up with too many horses. So.
Yeah, they would turn the other way. Are they individual operators? CS was the original, and David and Tony, and there's a bit of a Lindsay Park script, but are the boys starting to find their own kind of personality as trainers? Are they starting to do some things that even their granddad and their dad wouldn't have done?
Yes and no. They pretty follow this, follow what we've sort of done all along. Benny's sort of like the eldest, so he's sort of mainly the one in charge, and JD and Will just starting up now, but they've all got their own different personalities and they think differently, so it's actually a pretty good combination.
They've got the third one joining now as well, with Will officially in the training capacity as well now, having finished up playing league football. How do you say, is 3 going to be a crowd, or do you think he'll slot nicely into the team there?
No, he'll slot very easy. He's actually been right work and doing everything for the last year or two anyway. So he'll just sort of continue on what he's been doing. He's a great organiser of staff, which, passed down through the years. CS was a great organiser of people, staff. Will's got inherited that sort of trait.
And they've been privileged kids in a way, Bim, haven't they? Like, obviously a wealthy family and private school, but there's been a very strict lessons along the way, and they've had to earn their pocket money when they were little kids and all that. They've never had the silver spoon in the mouth, and I think that's played out with their work ethic.
Yeah, I think their mum's, Prue's, Dave's father, but Prue's sort of been the main boss around. No, like she's the person that will boss them around. Boss anyone around.
We heard she can run the joint with an iron fist from time to time.
She's pretty good.
Memories, Better Loosen Up, Japan Cup, Jeune, Melbourne Cup, all those winners on Derby Day. There's a million that I could think of. Is there a standout memory for you? There's Fields of Omar as well. And is there one gut-wrenching disappointment along the way? I remember David was devastated he couldn't get the best out of Americane. I remember that. Was there a massive high and the most difficult time, or the worst experience, or the worst loss that you can think of?
Well, Americane, I thought we done very well with him. He was the 2 miler that we had to try and make into a 2,000 metre weight for age horse. And it was always going to be difficult because he's very one-paced, I'd probably Accolade as one of the main we didn't have much going around at the time, and we were a bit quiet, and he came out and won a McKinnon and a Melbourne Cup, and that was sort of a great time. Not as good as winning the Japan Cup, but just as bad as good.
Was there one? What was the most gut-wrenching, other than the death of Peter and Colin, obviously? But was there the most gut-wrenching defeat? Was there a protest that went the wrong way, or a race that you should have won but didn't?
I think the Cops Plate, Peter Listen Up second Cops Plate, was gut-wrenching. I don't think we spoke for about 3 days after that. Whenever he was in firing and close to the finish, he always just seemed to win. And yet that day, just because of jobs, he just decided to come out and clean up after the field. That cost him being right in the finish,
That was the one.
He ran fifth, but protested against second.
And he was 66-1 because he was making a comeback after a tendon, and nothing was expected from the general public, but he nearly won it. But I think every runner should have won it that year because everything got knocked over.
It was a bad year. He was an amazing horse.
Bim, you've been at Lindsay Park twice. What was the first thing that you ever did there?
Well, I actually started with, I come from Port in South Melbourne. I started at Flemington, when CS had about half a dozen horses there, I think, he brought over. And he talked me into going to Adelaide about a year later and said, we'll get you riding properly, and, I'm just starting up Lindsay Park, so he come down. He had a place called Semaphore in Adelaide where he had trained a lot of the horses on the beach. And I ended up moving to Lindsay Park, and I was there for probably 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, in the Barossa. Did CS have much of a relationship with Bart?
Well, I think that, it's trainers like always.
Because they were the two biggest legends of, other than TJ in Sydney, like Bart and CS. And in 500 years, they're still going to be the biggest two. But I've always wondered, they were similar age, but they were probably running their own ships and didn't have a lot of crossover, even though both of them were from South Australia.
Yeah, I think and they're both very competitive people, so there was always you were never going to be the best of mates, I suppose.
Well, Gary, we appreciate your time here on Big V Racing today, reflecting on the success and the longevity of not just yourself, but also Lindsay Park. And it's very fitting that you've got a tower named after you there as well. So it's great recognition for your work, and that must be pretty special, is it, to have a tower named after you after all of your service?
Is it the tower on top of the hill up at Euroa? Is it that tower, the main tower?
Yeah, where we do where the finish is. That's where we go every morning to clock them all. We've got all electronic timings and we're in it quite a bit.
So do the Hayes boys have to make a formal request to you before they're allowed into the tower, or?
Yeah, sure, do they? But they're running.
There's something special because my old man wanted to put a small lake in the golf course at Bacchus Marsh, and we kept joking that it was going to be called Lake Stewart after the old man. And we always joked about what do you have to do to get a lake or a street named after you, and you've got a building named after you, so that's pretty special.
Oh, yeah. Pretty special.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
There's Gary. Yeah, good idea. Gary Fennessy joining us there. Gary, Bim Fennessy, Matty, so a lifetime in racing, really. 55 years is a hell of a long time to be involved, particularly with one organisation. And, listening to him there over the last 10 or 15 minutes, he's seen a hell of a lot in that time.
Well, as time goes on, you've got less and less links to that history. Like, he is a great, vibrant, living link to Colin Hayes. You just don't, he can tell stories under Colin Hayes. Other people can only tell stories that other people have told them about the TJs and the Barts and so on. So it's great to have a guy that was with CS from the ground up. So, and have you had spent any time? He's just the loveliest, most humble guy. He'd be sitting around the table and he'd be just sitting in there in the corner and absorbing it. And but he's got the best stories of anyone. So great fella.
Yeah, absolutely. 12:07. We'll take a break here, Matty. Pat Kearney's going to join us in a moment. He's got Ashy Boy going around at Sandown today. Got the second from the Meadows not far away. And Brendan Delaney will also join us for yay or nay. And there's a few SMSs here in regards to the music conversation we had before as well. Some suggestions. Benny Hill potentially could be something we could roll with. Foo Fighters is coming through from Brenton Pascoe Vale. That's very Mark Stevens areas, Foo Fighters. Icehouse. Kings of Leon, I'd be ticking that one off. But we're not planning on playing these, 4 minutes worth of songs.
Kings of Leon, Sex on Fire, isn't that their song?
Sensation.
Well, I don't think that sums up the mood in here, does it? It's more Racing Pulse, it's got the sexier touch to it.
I'm sure we could find a song that fits.
Although the Benny Hill music would be good for Racing Pulse too. So.
Jared and Burley Waters says, no music, the best music. I'm not saying we're going to play 4 minutes of songs, just in and out of breaks, Jared. Surely you can handle that.
Mikey, can you line up the Great Gig in the Sky? It sounds like that's what we're heading towards for heading to the break. A bad request. Didn't give him enough time. Didn't give him enough
12.
Big V Racing, brought to you by Same Race Multi on the Tab app. Combine multiple runners for bigger odds.
What are you really gambling with?
At Tab, we're on for Greyhounds this Thursday night. Back the winner on races 1 to 3 at Sandown Park, Dapto, Albion Park and Angle Park and get paid out. Plus your stake back as a bonus bet up to $25. That's winnings paid plus your stake back on 4 tracks this Thursday night. We're on.
First online fixed odds win bet only. T's and C's at website. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
If I had to choose a hero, as in somebody that I just loved and looked up to, it would be Kylie Minogue.
My hero would be Ash Barty, the thing that she gives.
A hero? Because she just doesn't care what anyone else thinks.
My hero would be my brother. I followed him around a lot and was his shadow.
My hero is my mum.
Don't wait till tomorrow. Tell loved ones how much they mean to you today. Find out more at tobinbrothers.com.au. Tobin Brothers Funerals, celebrating lives.
There's more than one Barbie making news. Barbie's Fox winning Sydney's feature, the Winter Challenge.
This is
Co-trainer JD Hayes gave punters the nod on the first word.
Quite brilliant in the softer heavy going, but I think she can still compete very well, especially at that level on the good surface.
And Sydney form expert Chris Beaumont backed it up.
So with 12 Barbie's Fox, really good at Randwick.
Barbie's Fox late, Hosier in front, Barbie Lumsden got up.
Finding punters, more winners on RSN, Racing and Sport.
Here's where to see Greyhound Racing live and free on the Watchdog app. Watchdog is the home of everything Victorian Greyhound Racing. News, form, black bookers, replays and live race vision. You'll see every Victorian Greyhound race live and free. Get the Watchdog app now and be ready for Premier Racing Thursday nights at Sandown Park, Saturday nights at the Meadows, and for the Country Cups set away in racing. The Watchdog app from Greyhound Racing Victoria. Free at your app store.
Big V Racing, brought to you by Same Race Multi on the Tab app. Combine multiple runners for bigger odds.
What are you really gambling with?
Yeah, welcome back to Big V Racing. I like this. I think this is a vibe, Matty Stewart. A little bit of music as we come back from breaks. That was You Somebody, Kings of Leon. I think we can make that a regular.
No, I'm all for it. I've given Mikey instructions about those long Pink Floyd songs that I'd like played before. Kearney, age approximately 30. Kings of Leon would certainly be something that he would be into, I'd imagine. He's a bit of a hip individual. Let's find out.
Well, let's ask him. Pat Kearney joins us now. He's got a runner at Sandown today. We'll get to that, but I think more importantly, while we're on the topic of music, we better find out where his interests lie. G'day, Pat.
Hey, how you going, boys?
Yeah, well, thank you, mate. Have you got any suggestions for us? We're trying to introduce a little bit more music into this program, coming in and out of breaks.
You're in our target demographic.
Yeah, well, we'll start off. I'm 26 years old, not 30.
I thought that was dangerous territory that Matty Stewart was going down there.
I said 30-ish.
Very dangerous.
Kings of Leon, are they almost too old for you?
No, I like Kings of Leon.
Timeless.
I'm more of a fan fan. He's probably my favourite to listen to.
Hey, Paddy, that's a bad line. We're going to get you on a better line. I don't know whether you're on Bluetooth or what the story is. We'll get the apprentice to ring you back, but...
Wouldn't cut it on Spotify, that.
No, I wouldn't cut it on Spotify.
There's some feedback for the Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters' most overrated band ever. Every song sounds the same. Okay, Mikey Velasaris, a little aggrieved in the background there. Mick from Bond Beach says, play Everyone's a Winner, baby. That'd be quite fitting.
I'll tell you what I've been listening to a bit lately, because it's on my playlist. Smashing Pumpkins 1979 is a song I love, and I love the film clip to it as well.
Like the Pumpkins.
Very nostalgic. You there, Paddy?
G'day, Pat. We got you back.
Yeah, back.
Sorry, mate. We missed what direction you'd be heading with your music. Where would you go?
Yeah, I said I like Sam Fender. He's probably my go-to. Love a bit of Sons of the East and the Teskey Brothers. They're sort of my main ones. They're probably a bit foreign to voice.
Hey, can you take your phone off loudspeaker?
Yeah, sure.
Beautiful. That'll work a lot better. Hey, this horse, I'm a bit attached to Amish boy. What race is he in?
Amish boy.
Sorry,
that's a Kieran Mars.
That was Kieran Mars. I always get him confused. What race is he in this horse? Ashy boy.
Race 7.
Because a lot of me mates are in it, and they're the Red and all that crew from down Sand Foundation horse.
Laurie and she sort of directed me to buy him as a horse that might win one or two races, and he went and did that, so that was good. Ended up winning my first 2 races with him, final, and he's won the Burrumbeek.
Stay with us, Pat. Let's go to the Meadows for race 2. Come back to you in a sec.
About to go. Racing, Crash got out smartly on the inside, although showing good pace out wide was Speedy Right. Speedy Right now wider was Chapel Road, and Crashed has bullocked his way through on the inside, but still the narrow leader Speedy Right. From Crashed, and Long Johnny goes up to third. Then on the inside, Webleck Wolf. A good way back to Flowered Sound. The rest were put out of it on the first quarter. Crashed on the inside. The outside was Speedy Right, and joining him was Long Johnny. Coming up to the corner, it's still Speedy Right in front. Crashed is running up on the inside, but Speedy Right, they hit the line, and late Webleck Wolf. Webleck Wolf has beaten Crashed, and close up was Long Johnny and Speedy Right. Also there, Flower Soured. And tailed off after a nasty check. The first corner was Chapel Road. It was a muddling race, 30 and 78 is the time.
Bit of a blanket finish there, but it's 6. Webleck Wolf, 7, 10, 280 defeats the 3. Crashed at $1, and I'm going to say the 4 grabs third there, but we'll await the judge's final call. So 6-3 and a photo. I think the 4's prominent.
Paddy, Ashy Boy, one thing you didn't know when you bought him on Inglis Online was his constitution, because you've asked him a few questions over the time and travelled him around, and his form this time he's better now than he was at any other stage. His 2 runs have been absolutely awesome. You didn't really know what was under the bonnet when you bought him online, but you must be pleasantly surprised with his constitution.
Yeah, I'm wrapped with him. He's just so tough, and I think I've finally sort of started to work him out. Like, to be totally honest, when I had him early days, I didn't really have anything else up and running, but you sort of get that little thought just to keep going to the races every 2 weeks, whereas now I don't really have to do that. I can just be patient and take my time with him and sort of plan ahead and run in races that that are very suitable to him rather than just throwing him in the deep end all the time and just point and shooting, really.
You must have been relieved when the owners knocked back those Hong Kong offers.
Yeah, I was. I was definitely. You know, at the time it would have been pretty good because I own a little bit of him myself and just starting up my business and that. But then it was hard to sort of not fall in love with him because he's done so well. You know, like running second in that Tasmanian Derby was just awesome. All the owners were there, and I'm not from Tasmania, but I've spent a lot of time down there during my life, and you know, it sort of feels a bit like a second home to me. So it was awesome to have that feeling. Now we've just got to try and find another one to get back there next year.
Yeah, you and Matty Brown seem to spend more time around the Sprayton area than you do in Victoria. I've seen you both down there a couple of times. 1800, Sandown, a claim for Logan McNeil, who is back in form, and he's a very good, strong young rider with a good claim. Winner at 1800, which was one of those itsy-bitsy distances. I'm not trying to, maybe the barrier might be a little bit of an issue, but his 2 runs have been awesome. He should have won first up. He was awesome second up. Third up, 1800. It sort of feels like today's the day?
Yeah, in my mind, I feel like today could be the day. You know, take away the $1.50 favourite, and it's a really, really open race. But, you know, nothing is ever immoral, so anything could happen. I just know that Logan will give this horse a good ride. They've had a pretty good affinity together every time Logan's ridden him. He's rode him really well, and the horse has gone really well for him. So I think with the weight off his back, and he should jump and be pretty positive on him today. I think I really do think that he's probably going the best he has ever gone at the moment. So I just hope that, praying to God that I can get my first Metro winner.
With your favourite all-time horse too, he's $11. There's been a few little minor deductions, and as you say, Time Quest is $1.55 favourite, but gee, you could have a decent whack each way and be pretty comfortable you're going to collect something.
Not far away from a winning team.
Yeah, I think so.
But that was a strong race and a really good performance by our winner, Kakadu. Might be one go in places. Nicole is now unbeaten in a couple, gets home in the fourth at 3 and 140 over Brave Spirit 180 and Kenobi 370 third. Elusive Nation had been on speed, hangs on for fourth in a $283.20 first four. Quinella 620 trifecta $88.90. 117.65 for the 1300 metres there.
And Kakadu wins at $3 on the Super Tab, 2 range on New South Wales U-Tab to race number 4 of Ace. Main quaddie starts with the next race there. We're off to Sandown-Hillside to start an 8-race card in 3 from now. Next, Sky One.
It's all right now. All right.
Bennett Racing has become a force in
young guy, Matty Stewart.
Yeah.
He's a little bit old, a little bit younger than you may have initially thought.
A tad.
You put a 5th onto his life.
And a few of the guys in it are just really, really lovely tradies who have a few beers at the Royal Oak. And I remember they told me about when they bought it online. I said, "Oh, what do you think about this horse?" And I've followed it ever since. And he has been the most amazing horse for those owners and for Pat. And Pat even conceded then that he kind of half butchered his preparations early when he didn't have anything to work him with and no measure, and he's worked him out, and that's probably why he's going better than ever now.
Yeah. A host of text messages. I'll get to them on the other side of Sandown, but we need...
And good afternoon to you. It's a 2-year-old race at the 1400 metres.